You've built a tight project schedule, but then a seemingly secure path snaps. A crucial handoff from an external vendor doesn't arrive. In multi-vendor projects, internal failures usually aren't the culprit. 62% of schedule slips originate entirely from external dependencies. This timeline shows the cost of standard tracking. When a delay is only discovered on the day a deliverable is due, project managers lose an average of 16 days of lead time. The root problem is how we track that work. Managing a handoff you don't control as if it were an internal task creates significant risk exposure. You are running on someone else's priorities. This flowchart outlines the solution, the chain system. It is a 5-stage framework: contract, harmonize, alert, isolate, and negotiate, designed to catch vendor slips days before they hit your critical path. To set this up, you need 2 things in front of you right now: an active project plan with an external vendor dependency and the corresponding vendor contract. Without a dedicated warning system, a vendor dependency remains a guess with a due date attached. Step 1 starts outside your project software. Looking at the single POC rule, you must extract and establish exactly one named point of contact on both sides of the contract. This stops status questions from bouncing in endless loops between account managers and technical leads. Next, check your contract for dates. A single final delivery date is useless for tracking early progress. You need to write specific interim milestones into the vendor agreement. While you have the contract open, lock in your recovery options. Clearly define expedite terms, penalty clauses, and fallback plans directly in the document. Negotiating an expedite fee or a fallback plan after a delay occurs puts you in a weak bargaining position. Securing these terms, interim dates, and specific names up front shifts the dynamic toward enforceable accountability. This diagram illustrates the next step: building a combined working calendar. You have to map the vendor's public holidays and regional shutdowns against your own timeline to see the days that black out. Differences in operational hours or regional holidays silently erase days from a schedule that looks perfectly fine on paper. Once the calendar is aligned, verify the lead time. There is a sharp difference between the quoted lead time on a marketing brochure and the true lead time. As the lead time card dictates, true lead time is a dynamic metric. It must factor in the vendor's actual current backlog. You have to ask them for their queue length directly, every single cycle. Failing to synchronize these calendars and active queues means your project dates are built on best-case scenarios, not operational reality. Now we mechanize the system. First, move primary status checks away from the final due date. Open your project software. Instead of one long block, insert a mandatory check at a fixed early warning point, specifically when 30% of the duration remains. This threshold must trigger a status evaluation, regardless of how confident the vendor claims to be. Next, we address the cushion around that task. This is called float. You need to calculate the exact schedule buffer surrounding the vendor's deliverable. Go into your project tracker and explicitly label the task with the specific number of float days remaining. Use these new labels to filter your software and generate a specific zero float list. Review this list weekly. Separating tasks by mathematical float and setting early tripwires allows you to forecast and manage events that would otherwise become late-stage crises. Finally, elevate your perspective. Roll all of your new external dependency metrics into one centralized dashboard. This dashboard view shows what system-level tracking looks like. You want to monitor the percentage of milestones contracted, calendars harmonized, and early warning thresholds set. Tracking at this level reveals a strategic difference. A single vendor slipping is a task risk, but 3 vendors slipping in the same quarter reveals a systemic sourcing strategy risk. Utilizing a portfolio view pulls you out of reacting to individual failures and lets you actively manage organizational exposure. Let's run a final verification check to ensure your system is complete using this implementation checklist. Confirm that you have named dates established. Build the combined calendars. Lock in your early warning thresholds, and flag your zero float list for review. The payoff for doing this work is quantifiable. Spotting risks 2 weeks early provides 3.1 times more recovery options than discovering them on the due date. The blind spot surrounding a vendor's timeline creates the actual risk to the project. Shift your focus to managing your exposure to the vendor's schedule. Subscribe to the Execution Edge for more frameworks to keep your projects on track.